Boo! Stinky boo!
Yeah, stinky boo. Let's be our own soundboards. Hey, bazinga!
Bazinga!
You know, I would really love that. Maybe I should be like, hey, can I talk to y'all for a second? We'll have our own, like, isolated sound clips, and you have one of me saying poggers.
Poggers. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I need that in my life. Not right now, absolutely.
That'd be amazing. Poggers.
Poggers. I can also do the roar.
Do the roar.
Do the roar. Do the roar. Do the roar. Oh gosh.
Do the roar.
Screening. Like really, there's a lot of effort going into that. Yeah.
Jerky.
Jerky.
What is what's his face? Idiot in the bell tower say?
Idiot in the bell tower? Oh my god, what did he say?
Bell tower.
It's gotta be that, right? It's gotta be
No, the Dark Souls bell tower guy.
Oh,
that's what I was thinking.
The sin?
What? Yeah, sin.
It is only natural to sin, something like the human.
Wait, I have it on my laptop. Wait, I have this. Wait, I have it.
I do have his laugh.
Yes.
Yes.
I can't. People should hire me as a voice actor.
They should. They should.
I should have you and Honey be the official voices for the thing, you know.
So much fun.
That would be fun.
I'll gift you.
I would do that too.
Can I have a side character role?
Oh yeah,
like a troll under the bridge.
The narrator.
No, funny you mention it, Al, because I was thinking of asking you. I was just like, there's something I'm writing, and I literally I thought of your voice, and I was just like,
oh, I would love that.
Yay.
Oh my goodness.
And I was just like, oh, I don't know if anyone wanted to do these though, but I imagined it.
And we do want to do that.
I will do anything.
Anything.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Then Paris.
Then
Barack Obama.
X.
Obama. Soda.
Soda.
Oh wait, I have. Okay, sorry that took me a second. Where are we? Where are you? Where am I? Where are you? And are you sorry? I cannot eat. I cannot sleep with you tonight. I forgot how deep his voice is. Oh, that was so right? It's so loud in my ear.
Oh my god, you have his whole. Oh, you got his whole spiel, not just a little bit.
He's like right in my ear.
Oh my goodness! Oh no, I'm worried.
Greetings. I am Oswald of Karim, the Pardoner.
This is like ASMR. I turned it down a little, and so it feels very soft and gentle and kind.
Until he does his ha 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 ha.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I really hope he doesn't scream because that will bust my eardrums.
He does. He goes.
He goes. Quite. Just the little peaks and valleys of his voice. Oh my god, he is.
He goes LMAO ROFL. Anyways.
Oh, sorry.
How do you have this?
So what I did was I found this little program online. I was like, has anybody figured out how to get the audio files from Dark Souls? And I pouted my lip a little bit, and I looked really pathetic about it. And then I found this modification thing that was
Mhm,
also for
mhm.
Dark Souls 2, where you could replace the sound files for Dark
Mhm,
Souls,
mhm.
presumably with funny things. But I'm not that funny, so I went with my little pathetic grabby hands and I said, I'll just take the sound files. And then I did.
What is that?
And then I
The sound
organized
files.
all of them because none of them were organized. And
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
Oh,
I
That
just
would kill
the sound
me.
files.
my sound files. I have all of them actually.
Whoa.
If you need a
That's
sound file from
crazy.
Dark Souls, I can find it for
And I
you.
took
I will
sound
ask if I
files.
need one because that's
I
crazy.
took the sound files.
You know?
That's me. Thank you. That's my favorite impression I've ever heard. Thank you. I took sound files.
I
and
call
I
it,
put them into my little folders.
I placed them in front of me, and now they are mine. Each and every one of them. Mine. Behold.
Oh, that's accurate. That's yeah,
Okay.
that's me. Alright.
Are the people ready?
Yes.
As the
Yes.
audience.
I was thinking of things you could add as for sound effects in Dark Souls, and I was just like, no, I really want to do that. But anyways, yeah, I'm ready. Hopefully the internet stays.
Yes.
So who would love to be our reader for this one?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
Yay!
Very excited. Hopefully I don't stutter too much.
Before you start,
Uh-huh.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Okay,
No.
before
it's
you
okay.
start, when you do the higher pitch, it sounds like it's a natural voice still. I was just like, whoa, how do you do that?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah. I was just like,
I take
impressed.
them and I steal them.
Okay,
They're
I'll
my
shut up
sound
now.
files.
Your sound files. Okay.
Alrighty. Okay. Chapter 3. The Maws of Tachanka. Ravenor Tachanka, 1250 CE. Pain. Blistering perpetual pain blooming beneath his underdeveloped crest. Harder, whelp! Thrax didn't want to listen. Could hardly do so in this condition, heart hammering against his skull like the repetitive pickaxe of a Ravenor mine. He felt blood beginning to pool at the base of his mouth, staining his teeth in shades of red. He felt the harsh impact when his rump hit the rubble floor, the humiliation that followed suit. A large, hulking figure loomed above him, furious expression cast in deep shadows. Thrax's father, Warlord Ravenor Garvek. Get the fuck up. The voice was grizzled, like the thick rust on metal. You're gonna pass this right with flying colors if it's the last thing you do. You hear? Arlefak's light outlined his father's silhouette, making the old man seem almost untouchable, a god amongst mortals. Wind howled across the barren training grounds like the spirits of his ancestors were goading him on, kicking wafts of sand into Thrax's already burning eyes. Garvek had dragged him out here at the crack of dawn, and they'd been going on like this for so long that dusk crept around the edges of the sky. Thrax worked his jaw, unable to meet Garvek's scalding gaze. He hoisted himself back to his feet, the coarseness of rubble beneath his clawed feet grating with his efforts, before running crest first into his father. Thrax's insides lurched, feeling his breakfast begin its ascent up his throat. The impact rattled his skull, pain mixing with the violent urge to scream as he struggled not to fall flat on his hump. The old man was like a brick wall, laughably unfazed by his son's headbutts. I knew it. Garvek scoffed. Your bitch of a mother made ya weak. Pain began to be overpowered by rage, as Thrax finally broke his staring contest with the ground. Keep my ma out of this. You ain't got half a mind to understand the shit she's taught me. Thrax snapped, blood dripping down his jaw and onto the rubble floor. Garvik let a sick grin cross his features, flashing him his crooked titanium-crowned teeth. We're going to war, whelp. His father's eyes were trained on the way Thrax's hands balled into fists, shaking from exertion. And your mother thought it'd be best to teach you to fuck the enemy instead. That if you cozy up to a Turian hard enough, they'll forget you're Krogan. Something consumed Thrax, red flashing across his vision like an untethered storm. Blood rushed to every limb attached to his body in the sizzling ripples, the ensuing light-headed sensation keeping his addled brain from forming a single thought. Thrax lunged for Garvik, slamming his crest hard enough against his father's plated chest, he could have sworn he heard a resounding crack. His vision was too blurry, mind drained of oxygen, to comprehend that he nearly knocked his father down. The older Krogan let out a ground-rubbling laugh, staring at the now shaking Thrax. Garvik reached a stocky hand to swipe at the fracture now embedded in Thrax's maroon crest. See? There's the good old blood rage of a proper Krogan! Thrax didn't meet the older Krogan's eyes, respiring deeply in an attempt to stave off the sensations. Blood streaming down the side of his head, seeping into the crevices of his shell, made him want to break something. Wait, where am I? It was all so painful, yet not even the sensation of his splitting skin could reach him through this fog. All Thrax could do was focus on keeping himself from tearing at his own skin, too far gone to register anything other than Garvik's condescending words. Yeah. You leave the thinking to the females. He could hear his father smiling. Your calling is written in blood, my boy. Thrax only blinked when sand began to crust along his lids, leaking in through the ventilation of his helmet, the stinging unmatched by the geyser of lava that was the memory. His burly arms felt numb beneath the layers of ceramic plating. Scales agitated from hours of confinement. Standing atop the small ledge of protruding rock, Thrax overlooked what remained of the makeshift training grounds. Even through the corrosion of 100 years, Thrax could still see his own blood staining the rocks, now showing as a rotten brown. He raised a gauntleted hand up to touch where the gash in his crest resided beneath the protection of his helmet, trying to quiet the phantom pains. It's been damn near a full day cycle, Maxar grumbled from his position atop a separate rock, kicking up grains like an impatient kid. I'm fucking hungry. Their scouting group had traveled many miles upon their departure from Clan Ravenor, taking them further east and into the heart of clanless territory. They had passed through long stretches of barren wastelands and rocky terrain, with nothing but shades of orange and brown to occupy Thrax's senses. This trek was made every so often, particularly when bearing scavenged supplies, as this was the residence of Ravenor's supply cache. This part of Tachanka, where the plains of Hercot and Maw's Reach met, had remained clanless territory for over 1,000 years. The primary reason for such was the stigma that the area was cursed. Accounts of clans' attempts at claiming the area as their own going awry, and many scouts having disappeared without a trace. Many claimed it was Uzin's wrath of impeding upon sacred ground, but the logical voice in Thrax knew only the abundance of Threshermaw nests hidden beneath the surface, waiting and listening for their next meal. Krogans who didn't know the planet intimately enough to fear the land on which they walked on. Though Clan Ravenor knew the risks of keeping supplies in such an area, it was the best way to keep off-worlders from discovering it. It was nearly impossible to keep things secret in the wake of the Council's authoritarian occupation, observing every inch of Tachanka through the eyes of 100 orbiting stations. So, however perilous, the scouts had no choice but to settle for these lands. In all their long lives spent scouting Tachanka, Thrax and his team have learned that as long as they didn't create too powerful of vibrations, the Threshermaws wouldn't be able to track them. Small steps, small impacts, no Threshermaw. Thrax blew hot air from out from his narrow nostrils. I'm sure we'll find something, some wild Varen to roast. I remember they were rampant along these parts when I was a hatchling. Thrax heard Maxar shift on his haunches, twirling his rifle in contemplation. You think a Solarians taste any good? Thrax eyed his Krant through the tint of his helmet, squinting past the clouds. You serious? It's not an honest question. Maxar put his hands up defensively, but Thrax could hear the crackpot's smug smile from beneath his helmet. Heard the commander ate a few back in the good old days. The commander told us a bunch of shit that ain't true. Thrax paused. Besides, I think they're gross. They'd be gross and slimy like some kind of worm or something. Especially the STG ones. Maxar let out a guffaw, the noise echoing against the thick ceramic encasing him. Ha! I wouldn't know. Never seen one myself. Really? Thrax paused, taken aback. Not even when you left Tachanka? Maxar thought for a moment, then shook his head before pausing to think some more. Nah. Closest I ever got to seeing one was when my crew went to deal with Rothwell's aftermath. We ran into one of the fancy ships near Dronek's Edge. Spoke to our crew over the comms. Maxar chuckled to himself, rubbing the base of his chin. They weren't happy, I'll tell you that much. Thrax felt the corners of his mouth twitch upward, listening to Maxar slowly make his way from his post to stand beside Thrax. They sounded like some kind of little rodent, all squeaking and fast. Excuse me. Heh. Thrax grinned, despite himself. They really do sound like that, don't they? You heard him? The question was an earnest one. Thrax felt that creep. Thrax felt heat creep up the back of his neck, out from the confines of his hump, like a serpent creeping out of its dwelling. He was unsure whether he should answer such a query honestly, even if he trusted his Krant not to tell their superiors. Yeah, their music is usually on the radio. They're okay singers, I guess. Maxar let out a rock-shuddering cackle, enough to disturb whatever wildlife resided within the vicinity. Thrax sighed, deep and slow, to keep the urge to punch, to sock his Krant in the gullets at bay. He allowed the laughter to fill the orange sky before it died down into mere wheezes and gasps for air. Fuck off, Thrax mumbled, just as the phantom pain in his crest returned to him in yet another sharp stab. Maxar, having finally recovered from his bout, noticed the way Thrax ineffectively attempted to soothe the wound through his helmet. Crest still hurting ya? Thrax heard his Krant shuffle his way next to him, so that he too could look upon the forlorn training grounds. Thrax hummed without emotion, long and slow. Just happy the bastard's dead. The placid expression on Maxar's ceramic helmet stared at Thrax. Not even the darkened lens could stop Thrax from sensing Maxar's faintly sympathetic glance. Deep down, both scouts knew this wasn't just about Thrax's father, but they didn't have half the stable minds to speak on it. So, Maxar sought to help in the only way he knew how. Want a spa? Take your mind off it? Thrax felt something dim, something muddled, begin to swell in his chest as he looked to his Krant. Fondness was not an emotion verbalized amongst the hardy nature of Krogan males, yet that was what Thrax felt towards Maxar. It was pleasant, knowing that if he had nothing else, he at least had his Krant. But the feeling did not last, engulfed by a much larger thought Thrax knew not to utter. A reminder of what was to come. Maxar's hand was against his shoulder, a grounding weight against a torrent of thoughts. After a moment's pause, Thrax peeled his lips open to respond when he was, once again, interrupted. Ksh, ksh. The two scouts stiffened, a strange mechanical sound rumbling and fizzing from within Thrax's supply pack. All thoughts were silent, Thrax's attention suddenly snapping towards the here and now, with the reflexes of a honed soldier. He crouched down onto his tarsals, unstrapping the pack from his hump and tearing it open with a single tug. He rummaged through it until he found the source of the noise. The off-board radio dully glint beneath scalding rays of light, vibrating softly as more static noise leaked from out of its speaker. Ping. Maxar didn't say a single word. observing Thrax as he slowly twisted a rusty knob, then carefully adjusted the small machine's antenna. The radio was dwarfed when held close to Thrax's bulk. With hands large enough, the movements would be clumsy. But this was not the case with Thrax. His movements were small, precise, and careful as ever, handling the machine like a delicate piece of treasure. Thrax pressed the whole of his ear to the speaker, listening intently. Ksh, bing, ksh. Is that supposed to mean anything? Thrax held up a finger to silence him, not replying, merely pressing down on one of the radio's knobs slowly. The alignment of puzzle pieces. The strange cacophony of noises began to form coherent words. Touching down in 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Ksh. Shields up. Ksh. Have eyes on quarry site. Ksh. Activating stealth systems. He could hear the awe in Maxar's voice, even beneath the muffle of his helm. Oh, fuck! I can understand them! How the fuck are you doing that? I realize I'm giving them Scottish accents. That's fine. Still, Thrax didn't respond, mind far too focused on retaining this newly acquired information, already planning his exact words to their scatting commander. The Solarians were fast. Thrax did well to learn from his years of combat training. They were rarely caught red-handed on Tuchanka, if ever, and had the reflexes of a pouncing viper. Such speed knew no mercy nor remorse, so their scouts needed to be faster. Nestled between his thick neck and the ceramic plating of his armor, Thrax pulled out a chain necklace. Attached to it dangled a platinum disc the size of his palm, with a thin, hollow slit at its side. Thrax placed said slit right against his helmet's ventilation system, then blew out from his scaly lips. The sound produced from the whistle's interior was shrill, loud enough to be heard from miles away, but high-pitched enough that only Krogans were capable of doing so. Such a device was created after the Solarians made first contact with their planet, engineered specifically to evade the ears of those not meant to hear. The flute's shriek reverberated out into the sweltering atmosphere until it faded away, leaving the two in silence. They stayed like that, waiting out in the blistering Tuchanka heat, for not long after the signal was returned. The same shrill whistle sounded off from afar, somewhere within the distant clusters of craggy rocks, apprising the scouts of their commander's location. Thrax stuffed his still chattering radio back into the confines of his pack and tied it to his hump once more. He nodded stoically to his Krant, setting his attention on the origin of the sound. Thrax and Maxar took off running, fast enough to carry themselves a decent distance, yet still cautious of their every step, or at least as cautious as two six-padded Krogan could be. Arlafak had begun its lazy descent beneath the horizon, its multitude of solar prominences stretching across the sky like long tentacles. As Arlak went, so too did the oranges of the sky, leaving only the ruins and sawtooth stones nestled along the horizon to be silhouetted in aureate light. The sky above them shifted to shades of red and purple, giving way to a dark canvas which, in some distant time, might have contained stars. As of now, however, it was almost completely blank, the debris of a long ago nuclear fallout obstructing the Krogan people's view of space. On some nights, it was almost easy to forget they were a part of something much larger. Ugh, hang on, I need a break. There's some ladder.
Okay. You want someone to hop on, or you mean just like a small break?
I think I may need someone to take over, actually. My throat is super stuffed.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Any takers?
I could take over.
Okay, were you reading along?
Thank you, Omev.
Tried to get me to Scottish accent though. Alright, now.
You don't need to do a Scottish accent. I was just... I can't... I don't know, I just defaulted to a Scottish accent.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give them a different accent every time, actually. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We alternate accents.
Amazing. What part were we at? I was listening but not reading.
Here.
No,
I'll
that's
give you a
okay.
sentence.
I was... I left off on the part on some nights it was almost easy to forget they were part of something large, much larger.
Got it. Thrax
You were
hopped up.
Bev.
You're welcome. Oh, wait. Before I continue, let me pull up my music. Okay. Let me do that. Oh no, there we go. Perfect. Thrax hopped over and between stray rocks, making use of the power in his legs to scale ledges. Maxar, being the shorter and faster of the two, had managed to get a few paces ahead of his crowd. When Maxar suddenly paused, Thrax did the same without question, whilst yet another shrill whistle reverberated out from the commander's position. A single call of the scout's whistle was used to communicate the user's location to other scouts. 2 calls were a warning sign, a message to either get lost or be alert. 3 blows of a whistle, though not as commonly used, was a call to action. It gave the okay for a Krogan scout to attack on sight. Usually, this was after a plan had been conceived beforehand, but some scout commanders Thrax had worked with preferred to skip that part entirely. I'm also going to take a sip of water. Almost subconsciously, the 2 scouts got low to the ground, crouching against their haunches like a pair of stalking Varan. Thrax could make out the sharp and sudden dip within the ground, its surrounding edges messily cluttered with forlorn piles of bricks made from both clay and sandstone alike. Being a part of Clan Ravenor, Thrax had seen his fair share of dig sites and mines throughout his years, making the identification of this abandoned location